Desert Mummies. Are You My Mummy? By Sarah P. World Cultures, Period 7. Desert mummies are found in many different places and made in many different styles. Some are still yet to be found today. The most well-preserved mummies were found in a place called Shio. In Shio, there were more than 30 well-preserved mummies. They were found, including the Beauty of Shio. This special mummy is famous for her beauty and youth. Another beauty was found near the Tawan River, called the Beauty of Lulan. Although she is pretty, people say that she does not come close to matching the beauty of the Shio mummy. Turfan was another popular place for mummies to be found. Older mummies found in Turfan were from 1700 BCE to around 300 CE. When traveling northeast from Yangpan on the main trade route of the Silk Road, we come to this place. Turfan is also famous for its desert oasis and fresh water. People found mummified could be Europeans that migrated over in around 2000 BC. They spoke Tocharian, which was similar to Latin, and had reddish hair. The Taklamakan mummies may have been the remains of an ancient civilization that lived between China and Europe. Another example of a mummy is Otzi the Iceman, a 5,000-year-old mummy who was naturally mummified in the Schnatzl Glacier. Notice that the mummies of East Central Asia are desiccated corpses. Their lifelike appearance is due to a certain environmental condition, such as extreme aridity and sandy high saline soil. This is different than Egyptian mummies because the Egyptians went through a special mummification process. What makes a mummy different from a skeleton or fossil is that it still has some of the soft tissue from when it was alive. The tissue is usually mostly skin, but sometimes there's organs and muscles too. Corpses are different from mummies because the people who buried them did not try to preserve them. They were naturally preserved by the high salt content and the dryness of the soil. Egyptian mummies were preserved to bury their kings and emperors inside of their pyramid. Some mummies had slit throats or cracked skulls, which indicate that they were sacrificial victims. Other cultures just put them in cemeteries to help recognize that the person was now deceased. The average mummy were around 3,000 to 5,000 years old, and some older mummies from Turfan were from 1700 BCE or around 300 CE. In the 1980s, some very well-preserved mummies were starting to be found. Some are still being found in East Asia today. There were many cemeteries found scattered around East Central Asia. In the late 1980s, a group of around 3,000-year-old mummies began appearing in a remote Chinese desert. They all had reddish blonde hair, which was strange because European features didn't appear to be in the ancestors of the Chinese. Cultural diffusion happened ever since modern people found mummies. Ever since then, scientists have been trying to figure out how each culture did it and why they did it differently. Scientists asked, did they do it on purpose? How did they do it? And why? Many countries have helped in the effort and are curious on the histories of desert mummies. Egyptian mummies were preserved to bury their kings and emperors inside of their own pyramid. This was to prepare them for the afterlife. Other cultures did it to preserve the bodies when they were in their graves.